I'm going to call the meeting to order. Notice in accordance with the requirements of New Jersey statutes regarding open public meetings, notice of this meeting was legally advertised in the Courier Post and the South Jersey Times and posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building. Fire exits are located through the double doors on your left and right. Please silence all mobile devices and stand for the flag salute. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Roll call. Ms. Donato?
Here.
Mr. Longfellow?
Here.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Here.
Mr. Perry?
Here.
Mr. Fazio?
Here.
Mayor Gattinelli?
Here.
Mr. Platt?
Here.
Mr. Gonter?
Here.
Please be advised that I have Ms. Pasqualone by phone line, so she can be involved in the meeting, and we are recording it. And of course, she just did her voice, so.
And we have some mayoral recognitions, if you want to lead off.
Yeah, is the Wall family here?
Not yet.
Nope.
You want to wait? Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Move on to the bill list. Do you have approval for September 13th, 2017 bill list? Do you have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes, abstain Fazio. Approval of regular meeting minutes, August 23rd, 2017. Do you have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes. Approval of executive session meeting minutes, August 23rd, 2017. That's a typo. Do I have a motion?
Make the motion.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Recuse.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes. Move on to ordinances. Just let us know if they come in, you want to stop anywhere. Okay? Ordinance 14, 2017. This ordinance amending Chapter 285, billboards. This ordinance is up for adoption, and we need to open to the public. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor, say aye. Ms. Pasqualone?
Aye. Aye.
We're now open to the public on Ordinance 14, 2017. If anyone wants to come up. Seeing none, motion to close.
Make that motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Ms. Pasqualone? Thank you.
Aye.
And we have a motion to adopt.
Make that motion. I'll second.
Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes. Ordinance 23, 2017. This ordinance extending the commercial industrial zoning designation to encompass the entire property known as Block 86, Lot 1.02. This motion was tabled last meeting. Do we have a motion to take it from the table?
Make that motion. Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes. This is now this ordinance is up for adoption. We need to open to the public. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're now open to the public on Ordinance 23, 2017. If anyone wants to come up. And please limit your comments to 5 minutes and make sure you stay on topic. Thank you.
And please, I would appreciate it if you give your address and your name clearly for the minutes, because we're having problems hearing that.
Good evening, members of Township Council. My name is Victoria Benetti. I live on Berkshire Drive in Sewell, and I am actually here as Vice Chair of the Washington Township Environmental Commission. I have previously sent to members of the Council a copy of the presentation that I made at a meeting last week that was hosted by Council President Fazio and Member Longfellow, but I will distribute copies for your referral now if you wish.
Pretty sure
Yeah,
we have
Vicki,
it.
we do have copies
We're
of it.
going to mark that as Exhibit P1
for the record.
Here, just give me one copy.
Just give us one copy for the record, please. Thank you, Vicki.
Thank you. We also have an exhibit, which is a large wellhead protection area map, and that is the same as slide 14, I believe, on page 4 of the presentation. So that is, again, simply for your reference.
We'll note the blow-up as Exhibit P2. For the record, we have the reduced version in your P1. Thank you.
Well, I'm here to express the objections and concerns of the Environmental Commission with respect to the zoning change that is being contemplated by the council. Our concerns are truly based upon a deep concern for the health, economic, and security values of a safe water supply in our township, and they're colored by our own experiences. Some of our wells have already been directly impacted by contamination, and we don't see that it's prudent to create additional threats. In summary, the points of our presentation are that the parcel in question lies in wellhead protection areas for wells 18 and 19, and that is within the red zone for well 19 and the orange zone for well 18. These are the most sensitive areas surrounding those wells. Well 19 is approximately 900 feet away from the parcel in question. The public water supply wells are vulnerable to contamination because they draw groundwater from very shallow depths, 65 to 100 feet below ground surface. The soil is sandy and porous, which allows easy transport of contaminants that enter the groundwater. While technology is greatly improved, underground tank systems continue to be sources of releases from piping, joints, overfills, valves, gaskets, and so forth, in addition to the tanks themselves. Nearly 800 newly confirmed releases from underground tank systems occurred in New Jersey alone in 2016. There have been numerous incidents of releases from underground storage tank systems in Washington Township. We know there are more than 9 gas stations in the town, but of the 9 who are registered in our directory, 7 of them currently have active remediation ongoing. And the largest underground tank release in New Jersey, approximately 25,000 gallons of diesel, occurred at the New Jersey Transit Depot in 2012. This was not because of a tank failure. This was because of a faulty valve and failed detection. In other words, accidents happen. Things like the failure of the blowout preventer on the Deepwater Horizon occur. Certainly, any operators of gas stations know that accidents happen. Our wells have been impacted by contamination in the past. The wells are vulnerable, and again, accidents occur. If you look at slide number 10 in the handout, you'll see how contaminants can travel to a well from their point of release. In that case, the source of contamination was about 800 feet from the well, and it traveled there very quickly. These cases required installation of additional treatment to remove the toxic materials at substantial expense, approximately $500,000 for the aeration system at well 18. Such costs can be avoided by minimizing risk through compatible land use. In addition to arguments related to the potential siting of a gas station on the parcel, we must point out that if you change this zone to commercial industrial, you would allow, by right, other uses that are equally or perhaps more endangering to our water supply than the application which has prompted this rezoning consideration. Such action will pose a continuing risk to the health of our community in perpetuity. Finally, we wish to point out that Council should not feel bound to confirm the decision taken by the Zoning Board on December 12, 2016, in the interpretation that the appropriate zone designation for the parcel is commercial industrial in its entirety, rather than a split zone dominated by a rural designation, as it is designated on the current township zoning map. The Zoning Board's action was taken without adequate investigation against the opinion of the Board's professional planner. It would be a great misstep to formalize an errant Zoning Board decision without an independent investigation of the history of the matter by Township Council and a thorough consideration of its very important consequences. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
We will answer any questions or respond after the public portion of this ordinance is closed.
Okay.
Thank you, Vicki.
Thank you, Ms. Benetti. We will have Exhibit P1 and P2 for the record. If people are concerned about me, I might be sure that Councilwoman Pasqualone hears what's going on.
She can hear it.
I can hear.
Steve Altamiro, 41 Jones Lane, Sicklerville section of Washington Township, the unknown section, Washington Township. Hi, Dana, by the way. Congratulations for being here. I think this is the longest stint that I have not been to either a council meeting or a school board meeting in maybe the last 20 years. So,
And with that, your 5 minutes are up, Mr. Altamir. Thank you.
thank you. And that won't be the first time my 5 minutes have been up here either. I'm good for 15 or 20. In any event, I'm primarily here as the attorney for the zoning board. And just wanted to clarify some facts. Well, one, there is a current lawsuit against the zoning board for the action that we took, filed by Washington Petroleum, which I believe is really the owner of the Riggins gas station, which would be right across the street from this property. I think it's important to point out, though, that there's been no project that's come before the zoning board that is going to go on this property. All the zoning board did was determine that the line that separated two different zones split right through the middle of this property. There may have been in the back more of a rural, but certainly up on Herfil, Cross Keys, it was certainly the commercial zone. And again, there's been no application by a gas station. Again, the company that put the application in does have gas stations across the country, but that hasn't been submitted to the zoning board at this point. All they came in for was a zone correction. And I think the board did actually do a very thorough history. We had several prior resolutions. We went back pretty far in the history. In fact, there have been prior commercial approvals and zoning variances granted on this very property. They never got built, but one of them was definitely for a self-storage business that was going to go in there. And they were going to change the rural portion to a commercial portion. So there was information about prior commercial uses that were going to be done on this property. And again, prior approvals, I think the last one was in 2009 or so. It seemed pretty clear to the board that it looked like there was a mistake in the master plan when they drew the zone, because the rural portion of the zone crossed over into this property, although the shape of that zone followed the shape of this property, which made it pretty odd that you would purposely create a split zone. So it looked like it was, again, a mistake in the drawing of the master plan, which, having worked on a few master plans in my day here, we had lots of mistakes every time we passed a master plan. And as far as the wellhead protection is concerned, again, I guess I'm speaking more as a citizen and or former councilman. I was here when we first put the wellhead protection ordinance in. We got sued by the petroleum manufacturers, and then we had to completely try to rewrite the whole ordinance again, and we had to meet with, we had some judges basically helping us with the wording to try to protect against gas stations and gas uses without getting rid of the whole ordinance completely. So it's not the first time that the petroleum manufacturers or petroleum distributors have contested the wellhead protection. But again, the thing I want to point out is that we don't have an application right now to put a gas station in. We only had an application to change the zone. Now, if we do get an application, my 5 minutes is getting up already.
Yeah, 1 minute
One
left.
minute, well, I don't know if I'm going to make it. But the bottom line is this, that if they do make an application for a gas station, There will be hearings before the zoning board again. Everyone will get an opportunity to come out and state, whether they want it or they don't want it. I suspect, again, we're in litigation now, so we're paying money, quite frankly, to me, to defend the township or the zoning board's decision, and a decision here would obviously make that moot. So, I mean, at this point in time, it just seems, the zoning board really did look into it thoroughly. They made a decision. We're currently fighting that litigation. If you decide not to pass this, that litigation will go on, and ultimately, on behalf of the zoning board, I'll try to argue that our decision is correct. I don't know what the judge will ultimately do. I can't predict that. I think we're on pretty solid ground, and so I think the zone might get changed anyhow. So I won't push my 1 minute limit. I'll end with that.
Sorry, Steve, that's just on my bucket list to do that to you.
And my last thing again, congratulations to Joe and Dana for winning. I haven't been to a meeting since you guys won. I'm going to sneak that in because I'm hungry. I'm going home, and I appreciate you listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Like old times, huh? Good evening, Daniel Coughlin, River Birch Road, Turnersville. I mean, obviously, we want Royal Farms here, okay? I mean, anybody that goes to the Super Wawa knows their business is popping, and there's room for a whole nother business in Washington Township. We want to be business friendly. The issue is that that's an environmentally sensitive area that contains many of our wellheads, and we want to protect that area, especially from the potential of putting gas tanks there. I mean, the potential for an accident is just that much higher. And I am sure Royal Farms doesn't want to come in under a cloud, and they don't want to be known as the business that is potentially poisoning somebody's water supplies. They don't even want that. I mean, for us to get out there in the press and to make this argument, that's the last thing they want. They want confetti's popping. They want champagne's cork popping.
Steve, out of respect for Dan, please.
Your voice carries, sorry.
Go ahead, Dan.
So, I mean, we really should move in the area of permanently protecting that area. Okay, and I mean, the argument of there's been no application yet for petroleum tanks, we all know that that's what Royal Farms is part of their business model, is having, a gas station there. So obviously there's going to be potential petroleum tanks there. You don't want to be known as the council that voted that later, is the council that allowed a really tragic petroleum accident where it gets in our water supply. You want to be known as the council that protects it. And I'm sure and let's help Royal Farms find another site. I mean, yes, there's a reason why they picked that site. I get it, but I'm sure, as long as they're in that general area, let's help them. Let's be good neighbors. Try to find them another site. I know this is sometimes private land, and we don't have that ability, but in general, we can steer them in certain directions. We can help them, so that they do come here. We don't want to lose their business. We're grateful that they're here. We just don't want petroleum and gas tanks on top of our water supply and our wellhead. Thank you.
All the riches.
First of all, Mr. Mayor, the Wall family
Pull the mic down to you,
Great,
sir. a
thank
little
you.
bit.
have
Thank you.
arrived. All right, my name's Rich Sylvester. I'm chairman of the Washington Township MUA. And let me give you some just insight of what's happening. About a year ago, the Environmental Commission came to one of our meetings. They got wind that there might be something going on that site, and they asked for our support, for the MUA support. And basically, they said about the wellhead protection, the whole 9 yards. And, as we sat, we listened to the meeting, the board decided, hey, look, we're not, we're going to turn this over to our engineer. And our engineer, basically, they did a study about the viability of putting the gas station there. And they came up, and I think I gave it to Joe, Mr. Councilman Joe Perry, and they said that it wouldn't be a problem because the new the new gas stations, the things, we could dictate to them what we want done, so we won't have a problem with spillage and this and that. And it's my opinion that council should listen to the engineers, the people that have that knowledge and the insight of the modern technology. We're not doing this to contaminate water. And God forbid, if something drastic did happen down the road, they would be responsible for cost. It wouldn't be cost to our taxpayers or anything like that. They would be responsible for doing where we could clean up the site. You're not talking about a mom and pop operation. You're talking about a fantastic facility. Just 2 weeks ago, I was traveling down south, and I kept stopping at the Royal Farms. They're a fantastic outfit. They're an outfit that you'd be proud of to put in this township. And like our engineer said, there are systems. There's tanks that go in the ground. We would demand that they'd be double walled. They would have alarms on them. If there's spillages on the site, they have protocol to clean them up immediately. They're not going to let them sit and rainwater is going to wash them away or this or that. So I think we're making a big thing. We want to protect our wellheads. We're all for that. But at the same time, we're all for good ratables in this township. And our superintendent was going to be here tonight to tell you, further details about what it would cost and this and that, but he's tied up in Florida picking up his son, and with the storm, he couldn't make tonight. So that's about all I have to say, and I hope council understands that, this isn't just happening. There has been things done to make sure that we're not just hurting the wellhead or the wellhead protection plan. And with that, that's it. I'm under 5 minutes, right?
You are.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.
I have his leftover time.
We actually have a rule against that, Rick.
Rick Eckert, 25 Renfield Drive, Block 86.04, Lot 14, Washington Township, Sewell, New Jersey, 08080. With all due respect to Rich, you look at the 25,000-gallon spill at the bus garage. It wasn't a tank failure. It was a valve failure of some sort, gasket failure of some sort. Alarms went off, and the alarms were ignored or not noticed or missed or something. And 25,000 gallons later, we had a disaster on our hands. You look at the history of underground storage tanks. We started out with concrete. We went to steel, and then we went to fiberglass, and we went to double wall fiberglass. Now we have triple wall fiberglass. I guess we'll go to quadruple wall. These things, they leak. At the end of the day, why am I here? I'm walking out the door tonight, and my wife's saying to me, why are you, why? After she just showed me a picture of my 2 latest grandkids, and I said, that's why. All right, and by the way, I have a phone full of pictures of grandkids, which grandpops always want to show off. Anybody wants to see them. That's what this is really about, okay? This is another one of those things that as I dive into it, and I've found many times in my almost 30 years in this town, that could have been avoided, could have been prevented. We didn't have to be here having this discussion. Back in 1997, your township planner, Louis Glass out of Ballackinwood, basically said in response to a question about rezoning property down that end of town, don't do this, guys. You do this and put houses in here, you're going to have permanent conflict. People down here are going to fight you all the way because guess what? The uses don't go together. CI doesn't belong next to residential. This is dumb, and they did it anyway. And so here we are. As we go along, we run into less and less property that's available to develop. We ended up with a property that is available to develop being in a position where it's, on top of our water wells and up against residential and in all the wrong places. None of that is you guys' fault. I get it. That's the past. But could have been avoided. Even in this particular case, I had a couple dialogues with the County Planning Commission today because I was trying to figure out why they think this whole property here is zoned NC, neighborhood commercial, which would not allow this use. And you look at it from, from their perspective. They said, we got the map from you guys. And we looked at it, and we looked at that, and we said, something's not right there. And we did our own map interpreting any of those strange things and sent it back to the town in the middle of 2015. Been waiting for a response, like, guys, what were you trying to do here? Here's how we think it should have been. Here's what we think you intended, but what are you doing? Again, if we had responded, if we had gotten into a dialogue in the middle of 2015, we could have avoided this, right? These things can be avoided. I read into and by the way, I hope you all got my email. I did send my presentation from the meeting that we had the other night, and I appreciate Sean and Nick coming out. I read in that night, and I know it wasn't a formal meeting, so I couldn't read it into the record, but we did have a letter from former councilman, I believe Council President Ray Rappazelli, who was also at the time the planning board chair. And I'd like to read it into the record again tonight, except it's going to chew up a big piece of my 5 minutes. So I can do that if you give me the extra time, or I'll have it copied and we'll distribute it to you.
Send it as an exhibit, we'll include it.
We can go either way.
Just present it as an exhibit. That'd be better.
I mean, I'd love to read it because that way folks in the town can hear it. You heard it the other night.
I know you only get 5 minutes, though.
You have 1 minute left.
All right. We'll give it to somebody else. By the way, for the record, I did, when I sent the email tonight, you'll notice I did ask for a relax of the 5-minute rule for this particular event because I think this deserves the extra time, but you're going to stick to that. So we had a discussion. Steve said something about, we don't have a gas station proposal. If you look at the application that was actually presented by these guys, it went before the zoning board for the B interpretation. There is attached to it a zoning exhibit that says Royal Farms on it and looks a whole lot like a gas station to me, along with pictures. So yes, we don't have a formal, perhaps, application, site plan, all that good stuff, but it's clear what's headed here. I don't think anybody should be fooled by that. And by the way, I wouldn't look at the lot line being down the middle of the lot. It's sort of the front corner that's in this CI thing. Last thing I wanted to just question, and I don't get this. Township Code 285-22, Section B. I'm trying to understand why that simply wasn't utilized to answer this question, because that specifically addresses this issue. The code section says boundary lines of districts, and it says when a district boundary line divides a lot existing on February 22nd, 1979, what the significance of that date is, but the regulations and restrictions applicable to the less restricted district in which a portion of such lot is located shall apply to the portion of such lot located in the more restricted district for a distance of not more than 50 feet beyond such district boundary line. So it seems to me that there's a provision already in the code when you run into a split zone to handle it. So why did we need an interpretation? I don't know that I understand that. It's a question. So I'll leave you with this. Last thing. I love to use George Washington quotes because there he is, right? It's a George Washington quote from 1787. Labor to keep alive in your breast that little spark of celestial fire called conscience. Common sense, do the right thing. Thank you.
Noreen Blessy, 1602 Hawthorne Court in Sewell, Washington Township. This is a letter or an email from Ray Rapicelli. Dear President Fazio, I have tried to keep up with the discussion regarding the zoning on Herfield Cross Keys and Fries Mill Roads. I served on Township Council when we passed the amended master plan into law. As I recall, the reasons we wanted to preserve rural zoning atop the aquifer were quite clear. There had been an underground gasoline spill beneath Riggins, which resulted in a plume of pollutants, which was being monitored by the DEP. I believe the monitoring well may still be operational. We had approved a massive commercial development on Watson Drive, less than a mile from the intersection. We knew that the owners of the property bordering the bypass were going to file a COAH builder's remedy lawsuit, which would result in more demand for water and more pressure on our resources. We felt the rural zone would help the town to preserve the integrity of the aquifer. The construction of a gas station on that site would be in direct contravention of the intent of the master plan. If our water supply is further contaminated, the health costs will be incalculable. We already have cancer clusters in our town and nearby towns. The tax ratables generated by this applicant are meaningless if fuel contaminants ruin the aquifer. It should be noted that we used professional consultants while redrawing the master plan, and our engineers, as well as the county farmland preservation officer, Jim Yates, all agreed that commercial industrial zoning west of Riggins was a bad idea given the leak we already suffered. In any event, the rural zoning is not a mistake. The applicant has no right to build there pursuant to our existing plan without seeking a variance, which should never be granted. I will try to attend the informational meeting. However, you are welcome to read this communication into the record at your convenience. Please contact me if you want to discuss this further. Thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
Could we get a copy of that, ma'am, please? Makes it easier for us to copy in the record.
Mark it as P3 for the record.
Seeing no one else from the public, motion to close.
Make the motion.
Yeah, you already spoke once, Vicky. That's all you get. No, not on ordinances.
Ask for a vote. Who doesn't want to hear you from the council? By show of hands.
Is it in there, Stuart, that they can come up twice?
Pardon?
Is it in there, Stuart? Can they come up twice or no?
Already made the motion.
Yeah, we already made a
Has the
motion.
motion been made?
Yes.
We got to complete the action.
All right, motion was to close. We had a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We are closed to the public. All right, this ordinance is now up for adoption. Do you have a motion?
Make the motion.
I'll second. Any discussion? Vicky and Rick, I want to say thank you for coming out to the other meeting and all your thoughts and all your work that you put into this investigation. You did a lot, and I appreciate it, and you really educated me on this. All right? And I'm going to tell you my opinion on this, and you know what? I don't want to say yes to this, but I in my gut, I feel like I have to. You're going to have another 300-plus homes built on Herfield Cross Keys in the next 2 years. You already have about 300 living in the Meadows, and I'm a resident of the Meadows. You have a neighborhood of Renfield and Crofton Run. It's already a busy intersection. If you've ever come down Herfield Cross Keys and tried to make a left, and then you're stopped right in the intersection because somebody's trying to make a right into the Riggins, it's a traffic jam and it's dangerous. So you're going to add another 300-plus people driving on that road at 5 o'clock coming home. They're going to want to stop for gas or even in the morning. And yeah, you know what? We don't even know if a gas station's coming here. We don't. But ultimately, it probably will be one. So, I mean, yeah, it sucks, but at the same time, you said that, you know, you're doing this for your grandkids. Well, we're doing it for the future of the town, too. And with that said, anyone else have comments? Roll call.
Councilwoman Donato?
No.
Councilman Longfellow?
I'm going to be a no on this due to the zoning board issues. The zoning board made the decision, the BCI, they interpret the map, and I'm comfortable with their interpretation.
That was a nay vote.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pasqualone?
No.
Councilman Perry.
Yes.
Councilman Fazio.
Yes.
The ordinance fails
The ordinance
3-2.
failed.
The motion fails, so the ordinance is not approved.
Right, that's correct. I'm sorry.
Do you want to stop
you have
the
the-
presentation?
May I ask the Wall family to come up, please?
I'll take care first thing in the morning.
How are you guys? I just wanted to let everyone know how proud we are of this family right here. This is the Wall family. They came together, they're young residents, and this is our future here. And I wanted to have them come out so that we can represent them and let folks know that even though they're young, their mind is so beyond what we can imagine at this point, to think of not themselves but others. I just want to read something to you, the proclamation that we're going to be giving to them. This is a recognition for them. On June 11th, 2017, the American Cancer Society Bike-a-thon was held. Riders from all over took on the battle to raise funds to fight cancer. The majority of the riders were adults who endured the ride from Philadelphia to Atlantic City. This grueling 67-mile ride from the bridge to the beach under the hot 97 degrees of the sun drained many riders, but they endured. Bill's Bikers, representing Bill Wall Supply, located here in Washington Township, consisted of not only adults but young children, led by Grandpa Bill Wall Sr., age 79, and other family members. 3 of their children joined in as part of the team, dedicated to family members who overcame the fight with cancer. The memory of their grandmother who fought a valiant battle with cancer, and to the many children who fight on day after day, they took on the grueling ride. So for myself, Mayor Joanne Gattinelli, and the members of the Township Council of Washington do hereby recognize the accomplishment, dedication, and example of the great youth we have today who will become our leaders of tomorrow. As a result of their part of this team, they raised $7,130. I want to congratulate them.
It was a pretty rough ride, though, afterwards, right?
What's up, Jim?
Yeah.
You guys good?
Want a 5-minute recess, please?
Do you need one?
Yeah.
Okay. Council, on call for a 5-minute recess.
All in
All in
favor?
favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll have a 5-minute recess.
Where's Stewie going?
If you want to clear out, if you're not staying, thank you.
You're going back on speaker now.
Perfect. Yeah.
Dana, are you there?
I'm
Okay, Dana, thank you.
Page 3.
All right. Motion to come, do we have the motion to come back into session?
Pardon?
Do we motion to go
Yeah,
back?
why don't you come back, because you motioned out.
We're
All
back.
right, we're going to motion to go back into session.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And ordinance 25, 2017, this is an ordinance amending Chapter 260, Vehicles and Traffic on Private Property. This ordinance is up for adoption. Do we have a motion to open to the public?
Make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're now open to the public on ordinance 25, 2017. Seeing no one from the public, motion to close.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And do we have a motion to adopt?
Make that motion.
I'll second. Discussion? Roll call.
Councilwoman Donato.
Yes.
Councilman Longfellow.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pasqualone.
yeah.
Councilman Perry.
Yes.
Councilman Fazio.
Yes. Ordinance 26, 2017 is ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 15, Section 2-6, 1D regarding the environmental resource inventory. This ordinance is up for adoption. Do we have a motion to open to the public?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're now open to the public on ordinance 26, 2017.
Good evening, members of council. My name is Victoria Benetti, 50 Berkshire Drive, Sewell, and I am here as a representative of the Environmental Commission to appreciate your support for this. As you may know, we have been applying for certification as a sustainable community under the Sustainable Jersey program. And as part of this very intense effort over the course of the last 15 months or so, we're nearing our finish line. And we have just completed a very important document, the Environmental Resource Inventory, which is the subject of what you're deliberating right now. Our inventory had not been completed in 25 years, and so that's way too long. And, of course, our township has changed a great deal in that time. As part of the certification requirements, we will have that inventory hopefully adopted by the planning board into our master plan. But what you're about to do is a very necessary step. What the Sustainable Jersey program requires in order to qualify this action on our part is that the township has some systematic process for updating the environmental resource inventory so that it doesn't go another 25 years before we address it. So the ordinance before you will assure that the environmental resource inventory is reviewed, amended as necessary in whole or in part, periodically, but at least once every 10 years. We're grateful for your support. We think the environmental resource inventory is a fabulous document. It will shortly be posted. I think once it may be available, of course it's available to the public right now because of the public hearing next week on the adoption into the master plan. And we will be advertising its availability to the public at large. It's a great inventory of all of the environmental resources of our township and a good baseline for all the actions by the planning board, zoning board, and your own organization. So thanks very much for your support.
Thank you. Motion to close to the public?
Make the motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we have a motion to adopt.
Make that motion.
I'll second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilwoman Donato.
Yes.
Councilman Longfellow.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pasqualone.
Yes.
Councilman Perry.
Yes.
Councilman Fazio.
Yes.
Motion carries. This ordinance is adopted as well as the prior one. We forgot to announce that. And I just also want to, for the administration, I want to thank Vicki for her help in bringing that to our attention. She also became a junior lawyer, helped us to craft the ordinance, and the other part of it, she wouldn't leave my office until I actually did it for her, so thank you, Vicki, appreciate it.
Ordinance 27, 2017. This ordinance amending Chapter 260, Vehicles and Traffic, No Parking on Certain Streets. This ordinance is up for adoption. Do you have a motion to open to the public?
I'll make the motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We are now open to the public. Ordinance 27, 2017. Seeing none, motion to close.
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And motion to adopt.
I'll make the motion.
Second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilwoman Donato?
Yes.
Councilman Longfellow?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pasqualone?
Yes.
Councilman Perry?
Yes.
Councilman Fazio?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ordinance is adopted.
Mr. President, at this point, I'd like to ask for an amendment to the agenda. We have two resolutions that we need to add to the resolutions.
Yeah, what are they?
Resolution 279 and 280 need to be added to the agenda.
All right, do we have a motion to add Resolution 280 and what?
279
279
and 280.
and
sir.
280 to
Make
the
that
agenda?
motion.
Second. Roll call?
Councilman Donato?
Yes.
Councilman Longfellow?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pasqualone?
Yes.
Councilman Perry?
Yes.
Councilman Fazio?
Yes.
Both have been added to the agenda.
Resolution 273, 2017, is a resolution supporting property tax rewards program for Buy Township of Washington, Shop Local campaign. This resolution, is that right?
This is to formalize our Shop
correct.
Washington
The way it reads is
program.
weird.
It's right there. Just make a motion to approve. Second.
Do you want to have any comments on this before we vote on it?
I will.
or- Yeah, go ahead.
Now, or should I say
Do I have to
something?
make the motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
I'll second. Go ahead.
No, I was going to bring it up at reports. Right now, what we're looking at is September 21st, we are going to have our local businesses come out. We had sent out over, 800 letters, I think, just to invite them in to hear about our Shop Local, Shop Washington Township. Great program. I think everybody is going to be excited about it once they see it roll out. So we're really excited to see all the businesses come in, participate. We've already had very many emails, phone calls, messages stating that they are coming out. So our local businesses are really excited about it, which I think is going to get our residents excited about it. It is a tax rebate program, so the more you spend in town with those local businesses that are a part of it, the more monies that you'll see come back in your third quarter taxes. So it's a really great program overall. We're really excited about it.
Thank you. Roll call?
Councilwoman Donato?
Yes.
Councilman Longfellow?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pasqualone?
Yes.
Councilman Perry?
Yes.
Councilman Fazio?
Yes. And council, I'm going to move Resolution 274, Resolution 275, 276, 277, and 278.
And how about the add-ons?
Yep, going to them now. 279 and Resolution 280, 2017.
Can I just ask the clerk to indicate on Resolution 274 what the updates are to the appointment book? I think that's the appointments to the Economic Development.
There were two, as a result of the passing of the ordinance to be amended, which was amended and adopted, we added two additional members to the Economic Development Board.
Could you please put their names on the record?
To Greg Bianchi. Greg Bianchi and the superintendent?
That's correct. Craig Bianchi, a resident, and Mr. Joseph Bollendorf, the superintendent of the Washington Township Schools, has been added to the Economic Development Board.
Thank you.
Council, need a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll
Yes.
call.
We have to adjust the, I should have made a motion. We have to adjust the actual description of the economic board. It says environmental currently if you look at the actual resolution.
Okay, fine.
That's all she's telling.
All right.
Technical, it says environmental, it
This is
should
a
say
technical.
economic.
That
Right.
correction will be made.
Thank
All
you.
right, that's on the record. Anything else? Roll call.
This is roll call for the passing of the resolutions 274 through 280
Inclusive.
inclusive. Councilwoman Donato?
Yes.
Councilman Longfellow?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pasqualone?
Yes.
Councilman Perry?
Yes.
Councilman Fazio?
Yes.
All resolutions from 274 to 280 inclusive have passed.
I'll move on to old business. Start with Councilman Longfellow.
I don't believe I have any old business at this time.
No old business.
I have none.
Just, I don't know if it would fall under old business or reports, but I'll toss it in with old business. Just a reminder that the Economic Development Consultant RFP is ending on September 20th. So we'll be looking forward to getting our hands in that, so.
Move on to new business. Who's New Jersey League Conference? Is that somebody wants to talk about that, or?
Yeah, I have on there, just as a reminder, we have the New Jersey League coming up. If you're going to attend, please get back to me so I can forward the registration. Some people have already responded, but if you will be attending, please let me know so we can put the registration for you. If you choose to get a room, as you know, it's the township's policy that is at your expense.
Okay. Anyone else? New business? I won't be here at the next meeting. There's an event scheduled over I got to go to, so I will be absent. And move on to reports. Sean?
The only report I have is for the Economic Commission on Saturday, October 14th, is the Community Cleanup Day. Registration forms are available on the Township website under events. The registration deadline is September 30th. For any questions, you can reach out to WTEC@township.twp.washington.nj.us, or you can find my email address on Facebook.
No, I'm good. Dan, Angela?
Yes, just that. First and foremost, on Friday, September 15th, we are really excited to welcome 2 new DARE officers. We are bringing DARE back into Washington Township schools. So it is a 5th grade program. We haven't had DARE in years, so we're super excited to have DARE back. They are going to be, I guess, sworn in at Bell School at 12 o'clock on the 15th of September. So there's 2 new DARE officers for 5th grade programs. And on Saturday, for runs and walks, on Saturday, September 16th, at Washington Lake Park, there will be a 5K run and a 1-mile walk for the Tony and RJ Foundation. If you have any questions or if you'd like to participate, you can contact Lisa Collins. As far as Economic Development Board, we just welcomed in a brand new business right across from the high school called the Craft Room, and we are booming, bringing in new businesses. We're really working in filling up those empty storefronts. So that's all for today. Administration? Your turn.
Yes, I do, actually. So yesterday we had with our newly developed HR department, we had a sexual harassment training employee communication seminar, which went really well. We had 2 sessions. Everyone was able to attend, and there was a lot of really good feedback with that. So we're pretty proud of that. Moving forward, we'll see a lot more seminars coming through and training processes and whatnot for our administration and our employees here at the township. Keep an eye on our calendar. We've got more upcoming events. This is the first time that we've ever had concerts in September. We had one Friday night with the Jersey Boys, which was outstanding. I happened to be there myself, and it was really a lot of fun. A lot of folks came out. You can bring the kids, yourself, friends, family members, come out and really enjoy what we have to offer. We have a shred event, which opened up on October 21st from 2 to 5. We changed it around a little bit. We're going to have that in the afternoon. So come on out and take advantage of that. It's going to be in the municipal parking lot, as usual. I think that's it. Thank you.
All right, motion to open to the public.
Make a motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Now open to the public about anything. Still have 5 minutes, though.
Rick Eckert, 25 Renfield Drive. Just to follow up, I don't like to leave loose ends, so I made mention in that whole discussion. And by the way, I appreciate how difficult that vote was for you folks. I did have a bunch of conversations back and forth with the Planning Counting Board today, as well as the ARH Associates, who's their data collector. And they would like to get a response back from you guys as to the review map that they put out in the middle of 2015. Because it's probably not just that intersection there, or that particular lot. There may be others that they're looking maybe for some feedback on. So they told me who they sent the map to. I can fill you guys in with that if you want after the meeting. And you guys can, maybe we can follow up, and maybe we can avoid running into another problem with this in the future.
Who did they send the map to?
I'd rather not embarrass anybody in public.
Okay.
I'll give it to you after the meeting. It was somebody in the building here.
Should send it to,
Leo, sure.
okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
A call from River Birch Road, Turnersville. This is probably as old as this council. We discussed about having ordinances just explained in plain English, just a brief synopsis of what it means. I know you have the long version here. Certainly the folks at home don't have that. But, you know, because, I mean, you had an ordinance on billboards. You said you opened it to the public. I don't know. I mean, if you said we're going to increase the amount of billboards all over town and we're going to extend them, maybe I would have wanted to make a few comments on that. Just like a couple other resolutions about the parking and, you know, just briefly break it down in plain English, just a couple sentences. If you could, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
No one else from the public? Motion to close?
Make that motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
As far as the map goes, if they send it to the clerk, he'll present it to council, and at that point, we can make that decision if we want to do something with it or review the master plan, I guess. And the
I
billboard.
mean, I'd just like to say on that I'd never have seen it, email, or had anyone speak to me about it. And I know we've been on council since 2015. So just want to put it out there for you that never saw it. Okay. I just want to put it out there.
Yeah,
You're
I
saying it's
understand.
nobody in the building, or
Nobody in the room.
Oh, nobody in the room.
Okay. Well,
You're all alone.
Thank you.
I was thinking
That's what
it
I was.
got sent to
I'm only
my
worried
email.
about me,
Check it
Rick.
out. No idea.
That's how you live your life.
And as far as billboards go, Stuart, can you give like an easy explanation on that ordinance?
An easy explanation?
Yeah.
Yes. We had one zone in town that permitted billboards, and this ordinance allows billboards in a second zone. I believe it's the CI zone, if I'm not mistaken. Highway commercial, now the CI zone. And so those are the only two places where billboards can be permitted. Of course, then you have to go to the particular ordinance to see the regulations concerning the billboards themselves. So that's what that ordinance was about. As to the gentleman's other question, if council so wishes, I can always give, at least when it's up for adoption, give a brief synopsis before, if that's your pleasure. You don't have to, because as the gentleman said, the actual full text of the ordinance is on the agenda. There's the notice of the ordinance adoption, which spreads out, at least most of the time, in summary form, and a purpose statement. I could certainly make a brief summary statement if you want me to. Certainly can do that if it's necessary. Other ordinances don't require it. They're self-evident. That's really council's pleasure.
It's also on the website.
It's also on the website, and it's posted on the bulletin board and all the other places.
So after the first reading, it goes up on the website, correct?
Once it's introduced, I put it on the website. If they go to the website under ordinances, as a result of earlier requests, and there's one that says introduced and one that says
Adopted.
adopted. So they'll see the one that introduced or proposed. These ordinances, once they're signed, when they're introduced, go up there. The signed copy goes up there.
Yeah, I guess if you had one that's, you could put like 3 sentences at the max. It says just a real brief explanation that doesn't raise more questions. You know, that would definitely be beneficial.
Well, you know, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. So I'm
Yeah.
happy to do whatever your pleasure, Council
I
President.
guess that's my one concern, is if you do a 3-sentence and it doesn't completely satisfy what somebody wants, it could open up the council say, that's not what this is doing, you're just trying to make it look like it's less than it is. I'm just.
A lot of times
play
with the
devil's
ordinances
advocate a little
too,
bit,
when
but
somebody comes up to the public, when we open it up, you know, that kind of gets the discussion going too. And you do get a gist of what's going on with it. So, I mean, yeah, you could try it with one, see what happens.
I think people will be fair.
Can I make a recommendation?
Sure.
I would just suggest pulling it up as long as it's posted online, and then reading it, and then if there's further questions, you can always submit an Oprah request or contact the clerk or anybody from administration, and they'd be, I'm sure, or even us, and we'd be happy to sit down with you as well, or answer via email if that's allowed. That might make it easier, especially if it's specific to something that you're concerned about. Because some of them are a little bit explanatory. I understand that some of them can be confusing at times, but if you just do a little bit of research or just ask more questions, because I feel like even if you explain this, it might, open, like everybody else said, a can of worms, and there might be more stuff that comes out of it versus doing the preliminary work at a time.
Thanks, Dana. So just kind of summarize what you said. It's kind of better if you see an ordinance posted after it's not adopted, but the first time we vote on it, it goes up on the website. You can read it at that point, and if you have got further questions on that ordinance, you can contact the clerk. You can email council members, the administration, the solicitor. He loves getting phone calls. So that's also a way. Get
Chief
some
of
questions.
Police.
And everybody else.
You can get some questions
Doesn't work
answered.
like that, Rick.
And I'm usually
Before-
here from 6 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night, so if you have a question, call me or come to the office.
And with that said, anybody else have any comments on that?
Next council meeting?
And when is, that's just through the agenda. Boy, somebody else announce it.
2 weeks from today.
2 weeks from today, that will be.
27.
The 27th.
22nd. That next council meeting is September 22nd.
7th.
At 7.
No, 27th.
27?
2/7.
I shouldn't have listened to Dana. 27th.
On a Friday?
The meeting is on the 27th at 7 o'clock.
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Motion